just sent up something. You changed the screen. What you doing, Chef?
Hey, we going live.
So that's a new show.
I'm on the same page. Is it the same thing?
No, you got to get off of that.
Oh, that's good. So we don't got to change. We don't got to send nobody on anything, right?
No, everybody's going on.
No, I'm talking about on Facebook.
No, on YouTube, you mean?
I'm saying everybody's in the chat can stay right here, right?
No, we have to.
No, everybody.
Give them the new. Just give them the new.
Oh, that's me.
So
I understand. This link right here that you gave Anusha? I see it. All right, I got it. We got to move everybody over. All right, we live. Damn, so how the show? So we just gonna start over again or what?
Oh, we can start at question 3.
Yep, we're gonna start over. All right, hey, this we're gonna do.
We're
gonna start from question 1. We good, yo. Fuck
it. Yeah.
All right.
I want it to be a fresh, clear, clean show like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we good.
Yeah.
Damn, yo, you fucked up the whole. We need the introduction.
I don't want it chopped in half. Nah, you know what I mean? This got to be full, clear, clean.
Yeah, the work is good, yo. The introduction was gravy good, yo. Good. Motherfuckers that just hear the introduction, they'll get a little history, how we got to where we got to. We already took care of that. That's good. All right. Yep. We'll rename that something. That went 50-something minutes, I think. Yep. That's good. So now we live, man. We just gonna reset it. Where you at, Chef? We can't even see you, Chef. Let me get you. Hold on. Let me get over to another link. Let's see. All right, can y'all? Let me get over there.
Can you guys see us now?
All right, we good. Yeah, we live. So all right, let's get right to it. Well, let's just wait. Let people get in here. Chef, good for fucking it up, boy. Damn, Chef.
You're so crazy.
Take the keys from him, yo. He crashed twice, yo. You come on, yo. Get the keys. Get the keys. Hey, Gozy, somebody get the keys.
That nigga was eating a hamburger while he was driving.
Yeah, you the hamburger. We're gonna start calling the
Ran
hamburger.
into the back of somebody.
Damn, yo, man, we got it, yo. So we what we gonna do is we gonna go.
So we don't have to do the introduction again. We did that, right?
Hell no. That's on another video. That's good. That's good. Right where that's at. That's great. Yeah, that was good.
Let's just get back to question number 1 because that's a good introductory question.
Right.
Definitely. But I want to let some people. How many we got in here? Because I'm on my phone. I ain't on my iPad.
Oh, we got 36. That's just some people getting there for a little minute, man.
Brother
That's
Josh
good.
and Consul and Geechee, y'all still there?
Yeah, Consul, where you at, Consul?
Yeah, I'm still here.
What Consul?
Geechee, you still there?
I'm still here.
All right, good. Great. All right, we good. We got 46. Lit 50. We don't get no gas, so we get 51 in this motherfucker. That high octane get it started.
I mean, NBC have technical difficulties.
So we didn't have to leave. We good.
What do you want us to do? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Part 2, we good. I'll give it a couple more seconds, man. Good. Hey, Chef can't get no more hamburgers. You done for the night, son. You're done. No more food. Yeah, but yeah, that's a good start. We'll go right back to question 1. All right. This is actually the second part. Had a little technical difficulties, and so we're gonna crank it back up from the beginning, man. Get out y'all.
Can y'all hear me?
Some pad. We found you finally came. You eating that damn hamburger, yo. You weren't trying to
that's
tell the truth.
crazy, yo. I apologize, yo. I don't know what the fuck happened.
You gotta get the keys.
Oh man.
Yo, give us the keys, nigga. You good, but give us the keys. Can't drive us home from the party, yo.
That's
Crash.
crazy. I had the whole show set up. I like the intro. They was rocking.
We're
Well, we
gonna
gonna
Ah,
rock out. We gonna
rock.
rock
We
out.
good. We're gonna get it right here.
I
Where we at?
apologize, y'all. God damn it.
All right. We at 51. We at 51. Those who know, know.
Let's go then. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Let
Worry
me know
about
if
it,
you
bro.
let me
Hey,
know when you guys can actually see the screen.
let's get a little bit of a a small introduction though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead, just do a small shorty.
Yeah, get us back on track.
All right, so we can get back on track, man. We got Team Osiris here, man. Actually, the bros have been really doing some study, at least for the last 4 or 5 years, on Afro-Asiatic, and we just felt like it's a good idea to let the brothers teach subject matter that they actually have a serious command of, and so we understand the importance of understanding scientific literacy and understanding our history. And I want to give a quick example, and that'll move us right into question 1. So if you got Zachariah St. John teaching you about the Anunnaki, you're going to be in trouble because he's going to twist it to fit his agenda. If you got Malachi York teaching you about the Anunnaki, you're going to be in trouble because he's going to move you into his agenda. It's important to study the Sumerians and their history and their religion. And in their religion, you will learn their mythology on the Anunnaki. That's how you get to that subject. And so our community hasn't actually really understood what Afro-Asiatic is. We've heard people talk about it, but we haven't got a clear, concise understanding of what it is. Now, the brother's been teaching this subject for at least 4 years, right? So we like to actually welcome them to the platform because they have command and subject, and don't let nobody tell you they fucking don't, because they actually do. So we have a clear, concise understanding. So we're going to ask them some questions, right? Get your pencil and pads out, all right? Because we're going in. You know what I mean? You know, get yourself together. You know what I mean? Crack your fingers and let's take note. So, Brother Brendan, where you at, man? Let's go ahead and get into the first question, man. And Team Osiris, man, appreciate y'all for blessing the platform again.
Right. Welcome to Team Osiris. Thanks for coming on and sharing and actually creating a teaching moment for us. So, jumping directly into question 1, can you guys provide a brief history and overview of the Afro-Asiatic language phylum?
All right, jumping back on this. All right, yo, so a brief history of Afro-Asiatic. So prior to, I say, the 1950, it was called Hamito-Semitic. And the reason why it was called Hamito-Semitic was because linguists of the 17 to 1800s, they classified languages based on race. And the 4 races that they classified languages on were Mongoloid, Caucasoid, Hamitic, and Negroid. So Semito-Hamitic was based on Semitic, and so Semitic was recognized by scholars in around the late the late 1800s by the Göttingen School of History, because they recognize similarities between Arabic, Aramaic, and Hebrew. So the first scholar to recognize similarities between ancient Egyptian, which was at its infancy, and Semitic was Adolf Ehrman in the late 1900s. Okay, so the reason why it was called Semito-Hamitic was because these scholars thought that since the Semites were related to Hebrews, that that made the Semitic languages superior and the Semitic people superior to all other races. And so the Hamito group were Egyptians, Berbers, Ethiopians, who they called Cushitic speaking people, who they called Ethiopians at the time, and they didn't include Hausa. And the reason why they didn't include Hausa was later on was because of this guy named I don't remember his first name, but it's Meinhof. Meinhof also carried on the tradition of separating languages based on race. And so when he looked at Hausa in its comparison with Semitic, Berber, Egyptian, Cushitic, et cetera, he saw similarities with Hausa, but he still classified it as a Negro language, and that was due to the appearance of the Hausa people who had kinky hair and dark skin. So they were still classified as Negro based on race, but their language did show affinities to Semitic, Egyptian, and Berber and Cushitic, but he still classified it again as Negro. So Geechee, I think you mentioned what was the French guy's name?
The French ethnographer Maurice Delafosse, he came in with the term Afro-Asiatic, and later on Joseph Greenberg in the 1950s, he came, he resurfaced the term again. And and even modern times, the language phylum in itself, it's according to linguists like Roger Blanche and Christopher Ehret, Afro-Asiatic language is the language of Northeast, these ancient Northeast wild grain collectors.
Right. So okay, so then in 1947, you got I think his name Michael Cohen, and you had Joseph Greenberg in the 50s. Now they totally disbanded the racial categories of languages. You know what I'm saying? They denounced that racist shit from the late 1800s. And Joseph Greenberg developed Afro-Asiatic as we know it today. He added Chadic, which was ignored due to their appearance prior to his mass comparison. He added it based on the different features within Chadic that he recognized within Egyptian, Semitic, and Berber. So, and that is basically a history and the overview of Afro-Asiatic as we know it right now, because since Greenberg, you have scholars like Paul Newman, Diakonoff, Gabarta Cox, Oral, and Stobova. They have all did some type of work dealing with Afro-Asiatic and were able to prove that there was some connection between these languages that Joseph Greenberg developed. Now, Joseph Greenberg based his work on previous language classifications. All he did was throw out the racist components of it and just base it on language. But we'll get into that later. But that's a brief overview. If anybody else on the panel would like to add on to that.
No, we can go on to the next.
Okay, awesome. It's a great overview. All right. How are language phylums created?
All right. Again, so language phylums are already there. It's just the fact that you have scholars and linguists have to recognize them and group them together. And one of the main reasons why they group them together because they share innovations. It's almost like into genetic mutations in a certain genome, how a group of people can be related at the macro level, but at the sub level, they also share innovations within their genetics, and that makes them related. And then they split off into another group, you know what I'm saying? And then they ethnically and culturally become two different people. But language phylums work similarly because geographically, these people, you know what I'm saying, had to have lived in the same area and they had to have come from the same origin. So it's the scholars and the linguists' job to sort out what they share in common and what changed since they split from that common ancestor. And that's how language phylums are or language families are created.
Yeah, I could also say, just for simpler terms for those who would like to understand it a little bit simpler, language phylums and language families are made up of, like Josh said, languages that are genetically related. And what they do is they have similar features within their language structure that makes them related. And those similar features can also be used to find what's called a proto-language or a mother tongue, which share those same features, features such as phonology, morphology, and syntactics. And so when you see those same features within those two languages, such as they're called sister languages, well, the proto-language of the mother also shares the same characteristics. And this is basically how a family is created when you talk about language phylums.
And terms like proto and science means first or before. So when you hear proto-language or the proto-mother tongue, this is what exists at base root, which is hypothetical at proto-phase, yet and still they still follow the same scientific methodology. Not to mention that terminology that you hear, the nomenclatures that you hear in linguistics, are mimicked from biological terms. And like they say, based off these relations, biologically you have genetic relations, and you also have genetic relations in language. So when you look at it from a biological perspective, we hear about the taxonomy structure, which is the domain, the kingdom, the phylum, the class, the order, family, the genus, the species. So they use that same terminology to mingle or to cross-reference together by pairs characteristics that's seen in languages where they bridge. And at root, that mother tongue is what they label as proto, at root where they're bridging from. Like you have proto-Afro-Asiatic. You have a proto or the first phase before you get to the other settings of it. So in linguistics, they mimic the same terminology, or they give the same nomenclatures what you find in biological labeling. So they're looking at the characteristics that's shared with these people, and then they go all the way down to the root to postulate what is and what's not. Yet and still they follow the basic scientific methodology. And that's pretty much, the basis of it. You was going to say something, Consul?
Yeah, I just wanted to note that this methodology is, in science always accounts for fallibility. That's what gives science its ability to be consistent when we use science as a means of discovery. So we use a scientific method, and in linguistics, we use something that's called a taxon. So when we use a taxon, it seeks to classify language phenomena. Those languages that are sometimes borrowed and exchanged back and forth between groups of people that share close proximity, to even those that are isolates that carry a consistent language family and phylum over a period of time. So taxonomic linguistics is kind of based on the procedure of selecting linguistic units from a text. And then you study their features in terms of sequencing and distribution. And when you study that and use it peripherally with archaeology, migrational routes, and other areas of study, you understand the consistency, and what is created is called the comparative method. That comes from a mother language, a mother tongue, that's called Proto.
All right, cool. That's a great explanation there, fellas. Let's go to question 3, where we left off from the previous show. So what is the difference between a language family and a language phylum?
Yeah, again, like, I don't know why this is such a point of contention, but the maximum taxonomy dealing with languages and species and stuff like that, when it comes to languages, it is classified as a family, and that's the maximum relation that the said family has to with other languages, so to speak. So with Afro-Asiatic, you got Berber, you got Cushitic, you got Chadic, you got Semitic, Egyptian, and in most cases you got a Amadic. The maximum taxonomy when it comes to that is Afro-Asiatic, which they call a language family. And then to break it down even further, you have, again, those 6 language groups. So for instance, if you want to break down say Chadic groups further, you would separate it as Western Chadic, Central Chadic. It was Western Central and East Chadic, and it's one other group too. But I want to read from R.L. Trask's Dictionary of Historical and Comparative Linguistics. He covers phylum, and he defines it as a linguistic taxon. Like all such terms, this one has no precise definition, but it is most commonly applied to maximal taxon. That is a taxon that is not known to be part of a larger taxon, such as Indo-European and Afro-Asiatic, Eskimo, Aleut, and Basque. So, according to R.L. Trask, the use of phylum does it does say or suggest that yes, these language families are indeed related, but that is the maximum. You know what I'm saying? That is the most that they are related. They're not related to any other language group. Like Indo-European is not related to Afro-Asiatic or any other language groups. If anybody want to expound on that, but that is and then like real quick though, but like the phylum and language thing is not a real argument. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why people use that shit. But go ahead
and the family again is shared characteristics that we see amongst these populations. And then when you talk about the phylum, as you said, at root, at the top of the level of the family, you see the same shared branches within the language family. The top of the phylum or the top of the level of the family would be classified as the phylum. So it's really not what people are, trying to make more of what it is. We see the shared characteristics in the sense of a family, and we also see the connection between the branches that they are characteristically as well at the top of the level within that language family. That in itself is what's classified as what they're labeled as a phylum. So.
Okay, awesome. And I know, Consul, you had something that you wanted to add to the tail end of question 3 as well.
Well, sometimes people look at it in definitive terms and kind of misunderstand the difference. So what appears to be a difference. Mm-hmm. When we talk about the top of the family, it usually gives reference to its origin and its base. When we start getting into families, they break off into branches. So you start getting into common features that identify as substantiated language. Because one thing science does, it holds you accountable for ignorance, and you cannot shoehorn or craft an argument without scientific methodology. And this is what the categorization of family does. So you have to deal with phonology, morphology, and syntax. And those things are then compared to other languages as a proto-language is developed. And that proto-languages usually help substantiate the proto-language of that particular family, because then you're going into the phylum of that family. And that's why the language families break off into branches and they appear to be somewhat different, but it's just the same thing. It's just like talking about different animals in the animal kingdom and the taxonomy that's created around those animals.
Yeah, that's a great example. I like how they use the, in terms of biology, right? They use that sort of an analogy inside of linguistics as well. So let's move on to question number 4. So we're in new territory here. So
let me read this question.
Okay, yeah. This is from brother Unc. Yeah.
Let's light this up a little bit. Yeah, let's add a little heat.
Here we go.
To the grease. Got the fire cooking. Great question right here, and we've heard it a lot, right, for this discussion, because this is important right here. Right? Are there any credible linguists that support the Negro-Egyptian language phylum as proposed by Jean-Claude Mboli? You got to say Jean-Claude Mboli, That's how you guys say that. So that's a question that I need to know. I'm just trying to figure it out as I pan over the landscape and kind of figure out what's going on as I learn my way through this thing they call linguistics and Afro-Asiatic, right? So yeah, this popped up on the radar, right? So I'm asking the brothers, man, somebody dive in, man. Where are the credible linguists that support this? Where are they at? Where are the sources? And let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll take that one. First of all, there are no credible linguists that take Mboli's work serious. That's number one. But number two, Mboli does cite this guy named Graham Campbell Dunn. And when you do a Google search of Graham Campbell Dunn, he's done things like he's connected Niger Congo to the language isolate known as Basque in Europe. He's deciphered the Minoan script that no one else has been able to do. I think he's connected languages to the language isolate, Sumerian. You know what I'm saying? He's done so many works that nobody's ever heard about him. And there's a reason why nobody's ever heard about him, because I want to read from this website.
And keep in mind, if you want to share something as well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can drop.
Yeah, share that screen. Yeah, share
Yeah.
that screen so we can
Let
see
me-
that real quick. Let's see this guy.
Let me share.
Let's not put him in hiding.
Nah, we ain't gonna hide him. I got him right here on Front Street.
All right, yeah, you
Got
got to
it right.
unshare.
I got you.
All right, this guy right here. So this is audiophone.org. This is what you call it. This is archive, but he posted this in February 3rd, 2010. I know he was talking about, again, Graham Campbell Dunn. So yeah, he identified Bass as Niger Congo and whatnot. He's done so many groundbreaking works, as he says right here. Like the African origins, classic civilization, Maori, the African evidence, who were the Minoans, the African answer. So basically, he sums up his work right here. Well, I just want to say it loud and clear that Graham Campbell Dunn's work is crackpot science. Don't believe it. Don't even read it. He's saying Siwu and Uskara are fascinating languages that deserve serious research, but they are most certainly not related. So that's one scholar I could find that, that supports Mboli, because I believe that Mboli has probably had conversations with Campbell Dunn, and Mboli has probably done a live stream with Campbell Dunn. But to your answer, man, there's no credible scholar out here that agrees with Mboli's work, bro.
None? Man, come on, bro.
No, not
Y'all
one.
cannot be serious.
I mean,
no fucking way.
Yeah, it's only one, and it's the only one that cites him. It's the only one that has cited him multiple times, and that is Asar Imhotep. But that's the only one.
I said linguist, bro.
Say credible.
You didn't jump off the train, jumped off the track. You made the left at the wrong turn. It's not. Yeah, that's not what we're doing. I'm talking specifically that are noted to be in the field, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck it. I like John Conan Bowley. My shit don't count. Yeah, the question was very specific. So does he have a Wikipedia page? We can look him up. Surely.
Okay, I got you right here. I looked them up, and let me share my screen again. Hold on. Because I stay with that shit. Share screen. All right, John Clyde and Bowler. Here we go, right here.
No, I thought you were gonna pull up the other one.
Oh, this one right here.
Campbell Dunn.
Yeah, that's it. Campbell Dunn.
Okay. He don't got a Wikipedia page then.
No, he don't. No, I mean he's a electrician. So if you want to look up how to insert a light bulb or some shit like that.
Campbell Dunn?
No. You on Campbell Dunn? I was looking at John Clyde and Bowler. We look at Hold on, I got you.
Yeah, I've already checked.
Hey, he don't have
JK
anything, bro.
Yeah, GJK Campbell doesn't have a Wikipedia.
He's not taking serious, bro.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so that's a dead roll for me.
I mean, look, the only person is you see the name right
here. Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. That's a little sketchy for me and what I want to give the audience. Yeah, I'm not gonna put my support, no, not behind that guy. I'm not doing that. Yeah, you at least got to get into the game. That's like me saying, yo, that's the greatest running back I ever seen. Yo, what team he played for NFL? Nah. Yo, he ain't make that, he ain't there yet. Well, I don't want to talk about that. Don't bring him into the game. Interesting. All right, so let's move forward. Okay.
Yeah, and just a bit, just to add just a bit of context to the question, right? As I understand it, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Negro Egyptian or the proposed Negro Egyptian theory has been proposed as a sort of a competing theory with the Afro-Asiatic. That's and this is the reason why we're sort of bringing that up, right, into the context of the broader discussion. We're talking about Afro-Asiatic language phylums, right? Is Negro Egyptian sort of brought up as a competing theory or a replacement or
no?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's brought up. It's definitely not a competing model.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's without a doubt, it's not a replacement model. You know what I'm saying? There are different channels and ways you have to go through that. Like first, you would have to submit an article to a journal that's dealing with Afro-Asiatic linguistics, you know what I'm saying, and show and prove why this language family is invalid, and you show your work about how Negro Egyptian it is more, you know what I'm saying, more invalid, or the evidence says that it should be called Negro Egyptian for these reasons right here. And to my knowledge, it hasn't been done. Like writing a book is the same way. It's likened to sitting in your living room and saying how you would knock out Mike Tyson, or you know what I'm saying? Like it's not the same. Like what you need to do is get in the ring with Mike Tyson and knock his ass out. If you ain't doing that, then it's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's just like biologists, right? Who find the gaps in gaps in evolution, right? So those gaps, they insert their belief in there, and you do have biologists out here who believe, and they make books, and they insert God in there. And they are those creationists. You have creationists who went through the proper concentration, got the diplomacy, graduated from school, but because they have gaps in there, they insert God in there. So you have creationists out there. There's a few authors who are biologists, yet and still they're creationists. Yet and still, when it comes to mainstream academia, no one takes them serious. It's hard to even mingle theology with the field of science. You know, that's two different worlds. So when you have a person trying to mix and match that, this is the same thing you find these fake linguists doing, or some linguists. So mainstream academia don't take terminology like Negro Egyptian serious. They don't look at it. They don't pay attention to it. It's not taken serious. The only people that's taking it serious is the people in the underground. And they only show this work to one another, and they promote it to one another. When it comes to mainstream academia, no one's going to use that nomenclature to talk about a group of people living in what we know as the Nile Valley or what we know as Egypt. There is no Negro Egyptian in mainstream academia at all. They don't take it literal. They don't take it serious. They don't use that terminology. So, no, it's not even a competing thing against Afro-Asiatic, because the real people that's in that field don't even pay attention to it.
I'm gonna say then, like, you know what I'm saying, how you gonna go from like Hameo-Semitic, which was already racial, you know what I'm saying, and Greenberg, you know, so they just took it to the geography, you know, Afro-Asiatic, and then you'll go right back to some racial shit and call it Negro Egyptian. And say Afro-Asiatic is race. This shit don't make no fucking sense.
It's the Hamitic theory with blackface, bro. To sum it up quite nicely, if you don't know what the Hamitic theory is, it basically states that the biblical people of Ham descended into Egyptian, the Cushitic people, Berber people, and they are superior to the Negro people of sub-Saharan Africa. You know what I'm saying? And it's based off racial categories. So what Negro Egyptian does the reverse. It says that the dark-skinned Africans, the black Egyptians, or people related to the black Egyptians are superior to the lighter skinned people, the Middle East and North Africa, like the Berbers, the Semites, and the Indo-Europeans. So it's the same shit, bro. Like, I don't get how you could denounce the Hamitic theory and then turn around and do the same shit.
Yeah, we definitely gonna get into the Hamitic theory because I got a powerful quote that I want to go into after we get through with these questions.
Oh, my bad.
No, you good.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah,
real interesting. That was funny. He said, Josh said that the Negro Egyptian is what in blackface?
The Hamitic theory in blackface.
Semitic theory in blackface.
It's the same shit. Like, you gonna say that the Hamites gave civilization
Wow.
and gave you know what I'm saying, gave proper civil living to Africans, Negro people. You know, so you're gonna take that shit and put it in reverse. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you look at any of their language classifications, they take out Berber and Semitic because of what they look like. It's not on linguistic grounds, because if you study Berber or Tamazight languages or Semitic languages, they are closely related to Egyptian languages, whether you like it or not. Go ahead, bro.
It's basically like reverse demic diffusion, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's unscientific, bro. That's all it is.
Yeah, you're right. 1974 at the Cairo Symposium with Sikanti Diaz, Theophile Bang, and Walter Rodney. Y'all can read the work. I suggest everybody read the work, and I'm gonna actually do a show on the work so that we can see. And they came to a scientific consensus at that particular conference, and they said that the Egyptians were neither white nor black. Okay, but they was homegrown indigenous Africans, ranging from skin color from like the dark brown. And the reason they said that they weren't white nor black, because they understood that it was a scientific conference, and saying a person was black or white was actually pseudoscience that was promoted in early Egyptology. So they couldn't say that. What they said was what they're saying now, that they was homegrown Africans, right? And you can go to the Brooklyn Museum, right? Coming out of the Green Sahara, the shit is called that. And they clearly say that they're homegrown Africans. Simple as that. And we know what a homegrown African is. Being a homegrown African don't mean that you have not had sexual partners outside of the borders of Africa. It don't mean that. Homo sapiens sapien is the mix. Yeah, but go ahead to question 4. I don't want to get into the whole, I'm not going to do that, but let's move forward. That was a great question. And now the community is educated on that.
All right. So on to question 5, and as you can see here is the old famous photograph of our famous linguist Joseph Greenberg, right? In his in his very controversial theory. So here's the question for number 5. All right, what are the uses and the limitations of Greenberg's mass comparison theory, right? Also called the multilateral theory.
But I mean, the uses of it was it's anywhere between 1,200 to 3,000 languages in Africa. So what scholars before him, what they required was you study this one language and this second language, and you see, are they related? And you keep doing that over and over. But you know how long that would take to study 2 languages in isolate? You know what I'm saying? Like, it would take so long. So what he did was, based off previous classifications, Hamito-Semitic, he lumped them and analyzed the lexical data between these different languages, and he saw similarities between groups that were already postulated. So it wasn't like Greenberg pulled this out of thin air. His method was different, but his method was not different than say, for instance, Indo-European scholars from the 1700s, because they postulated that German and English were related. They postulated that Sanskrit and Latin was somehow related due to the similarities, way before the comparative method was even thought about. and they were considered right. So his mass comparison was to see what was related. And also, I want to note that his mass comparison was not an end be all. Like, it wasn't the last step. It called for people to study the morphology, the syntax, the nominal class, the noun class of these said languages, and he did exactly that. Of course, the mass comparison on its own, like, yeah, it doesn't study morphology, loan words, stuff like that, but that's not the last and final step. And I think that's a misconception within this topic, is saying that you do the mass comparison and all your work is done. Because even Greenberg himself didn't stop at that, and neither did other African linguists in the field. They didn't stop at just his mass comparison. They checked his work. Although it was controversial, they checked it, and they did approve of Afro-Asiatic, because Afro-Asiatic is the most agreed upon. The other ones are the most highly contested and disputed, like the Khoisan, the click languages, who he grouped all the click languages into one family, and Nile Saharan. So, if anybody want to,
Yeah. So you did great with the uses. I want to go over the limitations or the criticism. There's one particular criticism that was made by Lyle Campbell. Lyle Campbell pinpointed that one of the major issues with Greenberg's mass comparison theory is that he doesn't have a standard for determining the relatedness, what makes them related. He doesn't set a standard for what resemblances occur or how many resemblances are needed to prove a relationship. That's something that comes well after this theory was established. And this is what's being proven now, is how many resemblances are needed in order to prove a relationship. How many ways can be determined a relationship or relatedness, and that standard is being created by the current linguistic academic standard. So while he may not have created those things at the time, due to primary investigation, specifically on grounds in these areas where these cultures exist, and being able to have case studies, they're able to determine not just what makes the relationships work, but multiple accounts of proving that. And this is why, although his theory is flawed, his conclusions to these language families still stands today.
Anybody else want to add on to question 5, or we are ready to move forward?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So question 6, this is a very interesting one. How are genetic relationships between languages formed?
It's a number of ways. You know what I'm saying? You have similarities between languages, like shared innovations dealing with morphology, nominal classes.
Consonants.
Phonetics. It's a number of ways that they diagnose shared genetic relationship between languages. So another thing I want to talk about was how the comparative method is touted as the only way of establishing a genetic relatedness of languages, and that's not the only way. It is the best way. It's the most efficient way to establish a genetic relationship between languages. But if you take Afro-Asiatic, for example, the language group originated somewhere between 7,000 to 8,000 years ago to 12,000 and 13,000 years ago. So it's a very old language group. And the problem with that anybody that's dealing with Afro-Asiatic languages like Egyptian or anything like that, the problems that they run into is that it's not attested 12,000 years ago. The earliest branch is attested about 3,000 3500 BCE. You know what I'm saying? And then you have the next branch, which is Semitic, that was attested after that. And then after Semitic, you have the Berber languages that was attested after that. So then you have thousands of years where essentially none of these languages had any written alphabet or anything like that, except if you want to count the Arabs coming into Africa through the Sahel and trading with different African groups. Other than that, no African languages had a written corpus of text or whatever in comparison to ancient Egyptian and Semitic. You know what I'm saying? So the time depth of Afro-Asiatic is so great that the evolution of the sister branches is so great that they change so much that they look drastically different, but there are features that are common still to this day that are shared between Berber, Semitic, Cushitic, some Amadic languages, and Chadic. You know what I'm saying? So that right there is enough to for scholars to say that Afro-Asiatic is indeed a language group, is a language family. The evidence at hand isn't comparable to Indo-European, but at the same time, this is what we got, and what we have is enough to say that yeah, it's definitely something here.
All right. So yeah, I want to address this.
Can I say something really quick now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm going to reiterate this because this kind of gives more clarity to what I said earlier. When we talk about language families opposed to language phylums, the family is the genealogy, i.e. genetic. And we're not talking about genetics in the sense of haplogroups and mtDNA. We're not talking, and that's a big problem when we don't understand misnomers and the usage in the scientific community. So the genetic relationships are based on phonology, morphology, and syntax, which is peripheral to did they eat cattle? Were they pastoral? The pottery, the equatorial displacement, how far were they from the equator? The timeline that's been established in history. It's a peripheral, and it's studied over and over and over again. It's not just a basic theory or postulation. It is a proven theory because of the scientific method. So I kind of want to make that extremely clear. So one can't just say, I think I'm going to make up a phylum today. You can't do that. There are other qualifiers that you have to satisfy before it can even be called a phylum. So I just wanted to put that out there when it comes to genetic relationships.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something right quick. I want to say something right quick. We have a racist Afrocentric. I don't know. It's a lot of, racism is a disease, and I think that you have people purposely in a chat, and you could tell they don't read. A lot of people don't read, and they say that they want to see the historical comparative method. And the historical comparative method, and my brother Josh, got info, and everybody that do the research. The historical comparative method has been done with Afro-Asiatic. For someone to say they need to see it to see if it exists, that goes to show that they're not reading. They're not reading anything outside of the Negro-centrics, because I don't want to talk bad about Afrocentricity in a mature way, because Afrocentricity, that you're sitting in Africa and you accept the diversity of Africa, whether you're light, dark, Caucasoid, Negroid, or whatever morphology they have. Africa is a continent, not exaggerated Afrocentricity that becomes Bantuized, pseudoized, and whatever. It's pseudoism. So for someone to say, that the comparative method hasn't been there in usage, that goes to show that these people are not reading. Because Christopher Aaron and a lot of people, matter of fact, when the brother Brendan bring up the books that we shared, a few of the books, it's all done in these books. And that goes to show a lot of these people are not reading. They're so gone and so struck by racism, they can't see past Bantus. They can't see past it.
So it goes one sec. Everybody freeze. So we're going to have it. I'm sure. Yeah, we got that question coming up, and we're going to supply the evidence and the sources. So that's called the peanut gallery right there. Never be dismayed by the peanut gallery. That's where fun is happening at. And, and I like that question that guy said. Do you know what that guy said? He said, show me this, right? I'm not even, was he saying he wanted to see if y'all could do it? Because that's a running thing too. And I just want to let everybody know, right? Please don't ask me to demonstrate any goddamn thing. I'm a novice. I'm not an expert. Or because that's really a Hebrew format. Y'all do know that, right? Or evolution ain't real because you're not in the lab. The vaccines, you don't know how them vaccines work because you're not the scientist in the lab. Well, why in the hell would you expect a novice, right, non-professional expert to be in the damn lab in the first place? And what regular African American or white American or Jewish American or whatever hell is walking around just knowing that? It makes no sense. It's absolutely a trick question. You're tricking the audience to think that we should even remotely be able to do that. No, we practice scientific literacy so we can at least understand when the fools are faking us out. That's the purpose of scientific literacy. If I wanted to actually go in the lab and do this and do that to prove evolution, I'm going to get a degree in biology and evolution. That's what I would do, and then come back and smack the shit out of y'all. So don't play that game where you got to be the guy to do it. That's nonsense, bro.
Yes, and also
they know this.
I don't know if this is a woman or a male. You have fake accounts on here, but you have someone who's trying to. I think it's one of the SAR students. I don't know, female or male.
See,
either way,
she's
no. I'm not falling into it. But I wanted to just say this because I just want to say this about the information she put or he put. No one cares about Greenberg's, the problematic aspects of Greenberg because it doesn't end with Greenberg. Just like evolution doesn't end with Darwin. You have other people that add on. So yes, there were problems or errors. No one's talking about that. So please don't post old articles or whatever old shit as if this is the end all be all because people have added on and went further. So you're not teaching anybody nothing or you're not debunking anyone. And this is not, to shoot at anybody. I just wanted to say that because it seems like the biggest target for all these people is Greenberg.
For no reason at all.
It's just stupid. But go ahead.
And can I say something real quick? I'm
and then we're gonna go to the next question.
I wanted to speak to us a question.
I got some on this question too. I would say genetic relationships and languages are defined by cultural transmission from generation to generation. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to necessarily be inherited, but it can be learned.
Okay.
Right.
Go ahead, Mel.
Appreciate
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah. So when we talk about how genetic relationships form, like Josh said earlier, you can use the comparative method as a more effective method to do so. And like how we were proved biologically, a common ancestor, you would take two groups of peoples and compare characteristics between the two to determine a possible ancestor or a possible connection. Same way with languages. Not saying that languages are biologically connected genetically, but just that they share characteristics. So when you use the comparative method, a lot of times you use sets of words, and these sets of words are called cognates. And what you would do is you would compare the cognates, making sure that these sets of words on both sides of the spectrum have similar pronunciations and similar meanings or context for the word, which means they mean the same thing and they sound alike. When you hear those two things and you have multiple pairs of words, usually, and when it comes to the comparative method, they prefer you have thousands to rule out chance, to rule out something being a potential, just a typical situation. You want it to be completely ruled out and completely randomized. That's how you use the comparative method. And by doing this, you're able to take these large collections of words between these two languages and show these patterns. And therefore, by using these cognates, you can make a hypothesized, hypothological relationship. And that gets rid of chance resemblance. And a example of this is things such as linguistic interference and borrowing. And one of my common examples to prove borrowing and interference is contact. When you have two cultures that speak different languages that come into contact with each other, they tend to influence each other. Usually, when two sets of people meet up and they don't speak the same language, the language is the first thing that usually they work through in order to be able to communicate with each other. The easiest one for most people to understand is the English language and it having French loanwords in it, or borrowing from the French. Usually, when it comes to influence, they either have to be next to each other or it has to be war to cause that type of thing to occur. Well, when we look at why English has French loanwords in it, we do know that English is not a Romance language, so it would not be a part of the Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, and French and Latin sector because English doesn't derive from either of those nor their progenitors. English comes from Germanic, specifically Western Germanic, which is a completely different side. So how would you have that connection? Well, you would look in America and you say, okay, well, in America, in American English, the 13 colonies was established. And in those colonies, they spoke English. And so when you look at the French, well, the French also own parts of the Americas here as well. And they had to communicate with the locals in the Americas. Those locals were then Creolized. This is where the word Creole comes from. And they ended up adopting not just French culture, but also French language. And then those loan words are now passed on to the American English that we speak today. So they didn't just get the cooking styles and the dress, they also got the language. And so this is how you prove linguistic inference or borrowing, and this is how you can prove such a relationship. That doesn't mean that French and English are related, but there was an incident that proved that relationship. So that's how you would be able to just recognize genetic relationships between languages.
Yeah, and not even that. Like you got French and English. You could tell from like different like the different type of French that was borrowed at different point in time period too. Like you were saying during the like the colonial period. And you also got French influence. From the Normans that came into England. And Latinized English. From the old French.
Correct.
All right. So here is another really, really interesting question. And this lends back to some of the discussion that's happened in the chat. And I think this is one of the major cornerstones of why we really wanted to have this Q&A. So I'll get right into it. Are there any linguists that have established a genetic relationship between the Afro-Asiatic language families? And what methods did they use?
Yeah. Hello.
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah. It was a couple of them. You have the Igor Diakono in the 80s. You have Ora and Sabova in the 90s. You have Christopher Ehret. You have Bumhard. I forget what year he came out with his, but you have a number of linguists that have attempted to reconstruct Afro-Asiatic. The problems of Afro-Asiatic are the same as what I stated earlier, is that the time depth is so far away that the chances of you being able to reconstruct Afro-Asiatic are slim. But that's not to say that there are not any remaining resemblances between the sister languages, because they do see Semitic, Egyptian, and Berber do form a language group called Northern Afro-Asiatic. They do see where Cushitic, Amadic, and Chadic do form a branch of Afro-Asiatic called Southern Afro-Asiatic, because they share numerous shared innovations. So the common features with all the comparative Afro-Asiatic are like pharyngeals or ejectives or emphatics. Those are the sounds like we hear in Arabic, like the sound. And when you study Cushitic languages, Chadic languages, Berber languages, And it's postulated that ancient Egyptian had the same emphatics. They all share that same feature. Nowhere in the continent of Africa do you find language families that share that same feature of emphatics and pharyngeals on the African continent. So the names I think I mentioned the names already, but it's Oral and Stabova. You got Christopher Ehret. You got Baumhard. You got Diaknev. You got Gabar to Cox. They have all attempted in some type of capacity to reconstruct Afro-Asiatic with a comparative method.
Right. I also want to add to that, Josh, that yes, they do study pharyngeals. Pharyngeals is basically sound that's articulated in the back of the vocal tract with the pharynx, and then there's also velus, which basically when the back of the tongue touches the top roof of the mouth. And then there's also uvulars, which are basically the vocal tract with the uvula hanging down. We speak through that as well. So those are the different things that they're studying. Again, they study pharyngeal fricatives as well as phonetical articulations, and these characteristics are common within those languages that are within the Afro-Asiatic family. So these are things that are specific to them. There's other aspects that are strictly within the Afro-Asiatic family, things such as the feminine T. You don't necessarily see that aspect within any other family. There's also specific typologies, BSO typology. Also, there's a causative affix, which is the S. Yep, causative S. Also, Semitic, Berber, Cushitic, and Chadic have possessive suffixes that exist. Again, these are characteristics that are strictly existing within Afro-Asiatic languages. These are characteristics that, again, like we said, would perform within this group that would classify them as a language. They share these characteristics, and so therefore it has to be recognized. A lot of their consonants are emphatic consonants, which means they're like Josh said, they were glottalized, pharyngized, and plosive. And then of course, like I said, with that T, that makes it a two feminine system, a two gender system, masculine and feminine tones. And I think just lastly, just the morphology, just the sound changes based on their root words that also show changes within their prefixes and suffixes.
Yeah. I just want to say also, like, I think I said it earlier, but I want to reiterate, like, prior to the comparative method, you had Sir William Jones, who postulated that Sanskrit, Greek, English, and the other what we now know as Indo-European languages was somehow related. He did this in the late 1800s, 1786, I think, 1788, whatever. But it was prior to what they call the comparative method, or you got to do the comparative method. Well, this guy, Sir William Jones, didn't have it, and he still postulated and turned out to be correct in that these languages were related. So also with let me see, the question was, okay, so the methods, okay, I want to read a quote real quick from, let me see, I think it's Live Campbell. It's a Live Campbell. Hold on, I gotta find it. I want to make sure I got my.
And while you're looking for that, I'm gonna put a link to a source in the chat, because this is something that I actually found during my research, and actually we had a chance to discuss this yesterday on the conference with you guys. This is a work from Christopher Ehret. This is his 1995 work that's called Reconstructing Proto-Afro-Asiatic Vowels, Tone, Consonants, and Vocabulary. Right. This is available on Amazon, and the description of this particular source reads: This work provides the first truly comprehensive and systematic reconstruction of Proto-Afro-Asiatic. It rigorously applies throughout the established canon and techniques of the historical comparative method. And I'm going to put this link in the chat here, right? For anyone that's really interested in grabbing a source, right, for the reconstruction of Afro-Asiatic using the comparative method.
All right. I don't want to get ahead of, I think that's the next question, but
Yeah, we can go to the next one.
yeah. I'm gonna save it for the next because I think it's coming
So
up. But
real quick, ask for no confusion. And so we're actually saying that there are linguists that has established genetic relationships.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And did we give enough sources?
Yeah, let me. I'm gonna share my screen real quick just to
All
make
right.
sure.
And then one more point. We did have a question there that talked about the weaknesses in Greenberg's demonstration. Am I correct? We
already talked about that.
So that's not a secret. That's not none of that. So
No.
I'm not sure what happened in Gozi, how we got confused on that, right? Or how you got mixed in with I don't know how I think that was just like shit got confused because at no point did anyone ever remotely say that Greenberg shit was perfect and didn't have errors. As a matter of fact, the Afro-Asiatic has holes in it too, but so does Indo-European have holes in it. So we say it all the time. It's really the God of the gaps.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's the God of the gaps. Like science is familiar with the holes in the Big Bang. Things they don't have. We show question marks. Yeah, that doesn't discount the whole thing. And I think that's what's really going on. But I actually think the person, I think was the moderator, she was actually just showing the points that we had made. So I don't know how that shit got confused, right?
Yeah.
But it's YouTube, it's the chat, and shit always get confused. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, right. I got it queued up right now. Like you have like I mentioned earlier, you got Oral and Sabova, Hamito-Semitic etymological dictionary, materials for reconstruction. You got Kabar Tacox, the etymological dictionary of Egyptian. You got Christopher Aird. What I didn't list was Diakonoff. I think in the 80s, he also did his reconstruction. So scholars have reconstructed it, but you know what I'm saying? But the problem, like I mentioned before, you know what I'm saying, just being fair and honest, is that Afro-Asiatic is one of the oldest known language families in the world. And I want to go out on a limb and say it is the oldest known language family in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's over 12,000 years old. So the first time we ever saw any language within the family written was 30, 34 BCE or something like that. So Indo-European, for example, in contrast, is about 3,000, 2,500 BCE. And you know what I'm saying, a lot of its branches are documented, and Afro-Asiatic, in contrast, is not documented. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to take it upon yourselves to compare, contrast, you got the sources right here on the screen, and you could compare it to Mbola's work on the right, which we'll probably get into later on. But
so okay, real fast, real quick. What question we on, Brendan?
All right, so let's move on to question 8.
You want to dive in? So how many we got? We got 10, right?
Yep. Let me share my screen again.
Yeah, because I want to pin 42 tribes.
Okay.
All right.
Goof.
Yeah,
goof.
Yep. So let me know when you guys can see the questions again. I'll go ahead and ask question 8. Okay. Question 8. What are the major issues with the proposed Negro-Egyptian language phylum?
Nobody knows about it. No serious scholar knows that it exists. Other problems with Negro Egyptian is that it also bases languages off of skin color and race. it's also not well defined because what Obinga defined as Negro Egyptian is not the same as what Obinga defined as Negro Egyptian. So,
You mean Mboli?
oh, what I say? Yeah, Ebola. Yeah, my bad. So you got Obinga that came up with his classification, and all he did was he removed Berber and Semitic from what he called Negro Egyptian, and compared other Niger Congo languages along with Chadic, Cushitic, Egyptian, and I'm not gonna say Amadic, but yeah, like the problem, the major issues with Negro Egyptian is number one, nobody knows it exists. Number two, it's not virtually, universally agreed upon what languages are included. And to my knowledge, they try to lump all or most of sub-Saharan African languages in Negro Egyptian as related to ancient Egyptian. The comparative method, okay, as far as that, number three, Mboli did attempt to do a comparative method, but he had major flaws in his application of the comparative method. He compared some Arabic loan words in Somali and Hausa. You know what I'm saying? He compared very recent forms of words instead of, comparing the oldest form of a word in the language. Because when you compare the oldest form of a language, you're saying that the oldest origin of this word comes from said language and it's related to the sister language. And we're able to develop what proto Negro Egyptian looked like. But what he did was compare late versions of a word, to proto Negro Egyptian. But other than that, like it's really nothing to it. It's almost like Negro Egyptian is likened to somebody replacing the theory of evolution or the Big Bang. Like it's not enough evidence in Negro Egyptian. It's not enough to take it serious that we're just going to throw out a whole model of Afro-Asiatic for Negro Egyptian. It doesn't exist. So somebody want to frown on.
I want to say something one time. I want to say too, it take more than just a comparative method to tackle linguistics. You know what I'm saying? That's what's been going around. You know what I'm saying about those posing languages around in this community. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? It take more than comparative method. You got to have contact linguistics. You got to have contrastive linguistics. You know what I'm saying? Which deals with like languages that's learned or is native. And the contact languages is figuring out what are the long words, you know what I'm saying, that was introduced to a certain culture. And then you have typology linguistics, which is you know what I'm saying, like linguistic universals that goes across the whole human board. There's certain words universal all across all humans.
Yeah, and I want to say this, as I say this, Josh, go ahead and pull up the same slide that you had where you were showing the sources on the left, because there's something critical to that slide that shows a flaw within Negro Egyptian. And we're going to reference Negro Egyptian from Mboli's perspective, just because he did do some work and it needs to be addressed. So here's Mboli's understanding of Negro Egyptian. It comes in 3 different phases. There's archaic Negro Egyptian, classic, and post-classic. These are his different phases of Negro Egyptian.
What screen you using? That's the same. Is that what you doing?
Yeah, that's the screen I want. Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Also, Mboli's trying to use genetic relatedness between these 14 languages: Bambara, Banda, Coptic, Jabaya, Hausa, Kiswahili, Lingala, Middle Egyptian only.
Hey, hold on. No, it's actually 6 languages.
6?
It's 6. It's Middle Egyptian, Coptic, Somali,
Sango,
and Zande.
Zande, yeah. Okay.
So
but I know these other aspects are
he added other shit later on, but but the basis of it was 6 languages.
Got you. So he's using these languages to show genetic relatedness via lexicons and just grammar. But like how we said earlier, while the comparative method is not the only way to show relationship, let's say if you're just using the comparative method to reconstruct your language. But in this case, on the screen, you see that there's a certain amount of entries needed in order to suggest genetic relatedness. Again, we're trying to rule out chance. So when you look at how Oral and Stavova, they came up with 2,672 entries of comparisons. When you look at Christopher Aird, he has over 1,000 entries of similarities. When you look at Mboli, he only has 234 numbered entries, and that's not enough entries to be able to rule out chance that there's a relationship between these languages. In linguistics, I think the most we've seen, Josh, is about 3,000 entries total. For comparison, to be able to verify that yes, we have a relationship here, and we have a total of 3,000 words, whether long words or actual relationship from a mother, to be able to say, you know what, these two languages are related. And Bowley has done some work, but he has not done enough of the work to be able to make Negro Egyptian substantial. And even though he has these 3 different periods, which is why he floats between them with his comparison, it's not enough work. This is the major flaw within Negro Egyptian. It's not enough work. We can go into how linguistic families are not classified by race or ethnicity. That's a whole nother subject. That is a factor, but the main meat and potato is he doesn't have enough entries. And if he did more work, then we could really sit back and look at this thing and see if he has something valid. It's just not enough.
Because real quick, Consul. I'm just saying, because what Brother Mel touched on is that when you have on the left side, I didn't put Gabar to Cox entries on them, but he had also a substantial amount of reconstructions himself. But we're just gonna go with Oris Tabova and Christopher Aird combined. They're doing the same thing. Although they are drastically different in their outcomes, they had over almost 4,000 entries of trying to reconstruct Proto-Afro-Asiatic versus 234 entries of the 6 languages that Mboli claimed were related in Negro Egyptian. So the error of margin, the margin of error with Mboli is way slim. Like if he gets half of his thing or his entries wrong for methodological purposes, he has 150. If they get half of theirs wrong, they have 500, 1,000. You know what I'm saying? So it's basically it goes back to the comparative method. It goes back to the number of correspondences and coordinates that you can find. Like how many more coordinates can you find? The more the merrier. So if you only presented 234, you're already lacking when it comes to the comparative historical method. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Consul. My bad, bro.
No, it's not a problem. With Jean-Claude and Mboli, the glaring problem is he's not an expert. Without even getting so deep into what he did, he's not an expert. He's not at the cutting edge of the technology around linguistics. The technology is what develops and brings forth information that expands on itself. This is what makes science science. And what he's doing here is more so an aficionado. And he's coming with a theory based on contextual clues. You can tell based on the volume of the study. And he doesn't show case study over a period of time to show consistency and frequency in order to develop this as a phylum. And that just comes with basic understanding. Like none of us are linguistical experts. We understand the qualifications for what validates a claim within the field of linguistic study. So it takes the experts to validate a claim like this that's on the cutting edge of the consensus. And this is why he doesn't have a peer group.
Yeah, I mean, the man book ain't even written in standard French. I mean,
We're gonna get to that.
What time? Where we at? All right, where you at, Brendan?
All right, we got 2 additional questions. So let's just go ahead and jump into question 9.
All right.
I'm gonna share this slides again. All right. So this is a pretty interesting question here. Actually, this one sort of came from me, right? Has the Proto-Afro-Asiatic language been reconstructed? So whoever may want to take that, or
Yeah, they're working on the penmanship, the Proto-Afro-Asiatic and the Proto-Omotic languages now. So they're working on it. Again, a lot of languages are being worked on now, and based off Proto-Omotic languages, terms like honey, and they know that the Proto-Omotic, they don't know if it's something that's close to Proto-Afro-Asiatic or if it's one of the first branch offs, but they know that terms like honey shows the sign of the continuity between Afro-Asiatic, between that language, early Afro-Asiatic, and other languages, because they lack pastoralist terms and they lack farming terms. So Omotic itself, and this is hypothetical, but they're trying to figure out if it's a language isolate that's close to something that's split, that formed in the Proto-Afro-Asiatic, or if it's one of the first spin-off of Proto-Afro-Asiatic. Now, if we get out of the linguistic fields and get into the biological genetic fields, the Omotic population is very important because you see the genetic continuity that fits in with Natufians partially. You also see the continuity with other groups of people. Even 4,700 years ago, in a recent article from 2021, last year, they said that the ancient Egyptians were 15% Omotic-like. The rest was Neolithic, Levantine, and Anatolian farming population. So that 15% Omotic, like remember in 2017 in Abu genetically, they said that Egyptians was completely close to Levantine and Anatolian farmers. But then when they look at 3 mummies that they was able to fully reconstruct off the nuclear DNA, they were able to see 15%, 5 to 15% East African DNA like, right? It was still there. But those 3 mummies goes back 2,000 years, the ones they were able to sequence fully. Most of the DNA that was sequences from those mummy heads were mtDNA. But when they went back 2021, last year, they seen a 15% East African that was Omotic like. And the thing about this Omotic component, the Omotic people have some of the oldest genetic signatures within the EP2 family, which splits into early EB38 and early EM215 without the late V6 signals, M78 signals, and all the other signals. So with that alone, from a biological perspective, if you add that on, it'll make close sense that these people are close to what Proto-Afro-Asiatic was something like, or a spinoff. So they're working on that now. Roger Blanch and other people.
Yeah. Also, you gotta keep in mind, this is what you say about almost 20,000 years ago in Ngozi. Is where they started this thing off at. When you talk about Proto-Afro-Asiatic, it's about 20,000.
It's postulated around 16,000. Roger Blanch said 12,000. Christopher Everett say 16,000, but it may go further back than that.
Yeah, I've even heard like 18 as well. But
that's when they split from Nihilus or however groups or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
I sent my brother Josh an article, and if Josh can pull it up if he want to, or in the future, we don't have to. But we have an article, and it says they shared a common ancestor linguistically and biologically with some type of Eastern Nilotic language. Not saying that they come from Nilotic languages. It was in kinship with some type of Eastern Nilotic language. But when you look at that Omotic component in the Natufians at 6.8%, and you look at that lingering signature, it decreased through time because there's been a lot of population turnovers, a lot of people back migrated or whatever, but the signature is still there. And when you look at it, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So they're trying to reconstruct it now. But it looks like something leaked out. It looks like Afro-Asiatic. The reason why it's so complicated, I'm postulating. And I would like to write to the linguist to see if I can, because I'm not saying that this is proof. I'm just saying that what it looks like, because it's so confusing. Because the language family exists on 2 continents between Northeast Africa and West Asia. The syntax and cognizance in both continents. But you have more Afro-Asiatic languages within the continent of Africa, and only one exists outside of Africa, and that's Semitic, and it's little branches. But here's the thing, though. It looks like Afro-Asiatic in the early form split from something out of the Horn of Africa, drifted into the Arabian Peninsula, and then they mingle with populations who had language isolates. And by the time they make it to the Levant, they're speaking a type of, it develops into Proto-Afro-Asiatic. And then some of these people leak back into the Nile Valley and they go through the Sahara, bringing it back in. So it's like a circle. It goes from the Red Sea hills of something leaking out of Ethiopia or Eritrea. They mingle with populations like with the basal Eurasians that were over there, who were hunter gatherers. They make it to the Levant. and become the Cambrians and mix with the Agrigetian culture. They become the Levantine Agrigetians, and then they come back in as Cambrians, and then they go through the Sahara. And this is when you start to see, issues between in the Quadan culture and Jebel Sahaba amongst two populations that look distinct. And then you had a kinship to the same people that was in the north with those Iberian Marusians. And according to data, the Iberian Marusians didn't even speak an Afro-Asiatic language, but they had a genetic signature that was close to people in the Levant. So something's going on. So they're working on it now. Once you put all of that together.
Right, right.
All right. So let's go to
All right, Brandon, where you
our
at?
last question.
All right.
All right. So, are there any conferences where linguists can submit newly proposed work to the field? Right? Because we're this whole conversation we're talking about. We have these proposed theories, these different language phylums, all this stuff, right? And we said that there's not enough work, there's not enough review happening, right? And that's why we think this question is important, right? It's like, what are some of the avenues and paths for submitting, right, some of these newly proposed ideas to the field of linguistics?
Yeah, so I could list off a few. We start off, and these are some that are actually having conferences, symposiums, and seminars this year. And you can look some of these up. There's ICAL, ICALL. There's Bantu 9. This is basically a Bantu research that basically has their symposiums every year. They have one coming up on June 10th of this month. And this would be their last seminar for the year. Basically, what they do is they study on the promotion and advancement of Bantu languages. They're trying to get more eyes and ears on research and specifically linguistic research from Bantu speakers. So Bantu 9, this is the 9th annual meeting for the ninth annual year for this particular conference. The Chicago Linguistic Society, that's another one. They had some stuff back in May or April as well. I think there's another one called Linguistic Society of America. They tend to have some. There's another one, International Graduate Forum on Language Cognitive Science. There's several others. It's too many to claim, and they are all over. They're not just located in America. Some are located in Egypt. Others are located in Seoul, over in Asia. But those are just some. Again, I would recommend anyone who has any linguistic hypothesis that could be beneficial to the growth and benefit of any of these languages. Try to submit the documentation to these symposiums and these conferences. But they do have strict restrictions as far as what can be accepted and what cannot be accepted. But it does help, promote the advancement of these languages. Now, the more common conferences are for the more common languages, just because, again, with Indo-European being a pretty dominant family, they want to continue to advance that. So you're going to see a lot more conferences on English, French, and the like, Spanish and such. But there are other conferences for other languages, such as Egyptian and Bantu languages as well.
So I just wanted to add just one additional slide, just to give you guys an opportunity to do closing remarks or any final themes regarding linguistics and the Afro-Asiatic language phylum. So this isn't to any particular sort of topic or anything, but just gives you opportunity to close out, guys.
I don't know if anybody else wanted to go, but I did have a quote directly from Joseph H. Greenberg, where he talks about exactly why he chose to address Hamito-Semitic and why he chose to adopt Afro-Asiatic as the proper term for this linguistic family. And it's pretty expansive, but if you guys are willing to check it out, and I can also showcase the book where it's from. It's a book he produced back in 1955 called The Studies in African Linguistic Classification. Let me go ahead and share my screen on that so you guys can pick that up.
Right,
a second.
Stop that.
Okay. You guys can see that, correct?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, this is Studies in African Linguistic Classification by Joseph H. Greenberg. Again, this is published in 1955 by Greenberg. And there's a quote. This is from pages 51 to 55, but it goes over the entire reason for why Afro-Asiatic was his choice family. So he starts off with the quote, for no other proposed Hamito-Semitic African languages can anything be presented remotely approaching the morphological and lexical resemblances adduced here for the Chad languages. We arrived, therefore, at the definite conclusion that the language family traditionally named Hamito-Semitic has 5 coordinate branches: Semitic, Berber, Ancient Egyptian, Kushite, and Chad. In regards to its membership, there remains only to be added the fact that the existence of the Kushite languages, and he names them, which are considerably south of the main Cushitic group, has generally been overlooked. He says that the linguistic analysis presented here is correct, and much of what has hitherto been standard physical anthropology and reconstructed cultural history in Africa is in need of reconsideration. The vagueness of the use of the term Hamite as a linguistic term and its extension as a racial term for a type viewed primarily as Caucasoid has led to a racial theory in which the majority of the native population of Negro Africa is considered to be the result of mixture between Hamites and Negroes. A prominent instance is the standard work of C.G. Seligman, Races of Africa, in which the Negroes of the West African Forest Belt become the only true Negro, while all the rest are Hamiticized to a greater or lesser extent. And he also says that the speakers of Nilo-Hamitic languages are also called racially half Hamites. The Bantus are considered to be another type of Hamiticized Negro on the basis of speculations of Meinhof, for which he never produced any proof, nor is any proof possible that Bantu is a mixed language, so to speak, which is a descendant of Hamitic father and a Negro mother. With this is often combined the belief either in the inherent superiority of the Hamite element or in a factual estimate that it has shown itself everywhere as a conquering, predominantly pastoral element among Negroid agricultural peoples. Numerous citations from ethnological literature on Africa could be made to indicate that this is the dominant view. He says the borrowing of a term for a linguistic stock for racial application is always a delicate matter, though if the correspondence is fairly close, as in this case with the term Dravidian in India, there is some justification for the procedure. In the instance of the use of Hamite in Africa, we have the extension of a term whose original application in a linguistic sense was never made precise to a great physical variety of populations. If the linguistic analysis presented here is correct, the term Hamite as a linguistic designation can only be applied correctly in Negro Africa to the Kushite populations of East Africa and the peoples enumerated above as speaking the Chad languages. As a matter of fact, even the linguistic use of the term Hamite should be abandoned. Semitic languages do not occupy any special place in the total Hamito-Semitic complex. Their cultural importance and connection with our own historic past has led to a separate treatment which is not justifiable linguistically. In other words, the non-Semitic languages of the Hamito-Semitic family do not form a linguistic unity as against Semitic. Therefore, the term Hamitic, which has been reserved for this use, does not refer to any valid linguistic entity. Hence, I avoid the term Chadic and prefer to designate this group simply as the Chad family. The only remaining use of the term Hamitic is in the complex term Hamito-Semitic, and even here, it can only lead to misconceptions regarding a special place for Semitic within the entire family. It therefore requires a special explanation every time it is introduced in order to avoid such a misapprehension. The term Hamito-Semitic is so well entrenched that it would no doubt continue to be used. I rather hesitantly suggest the name Afro-Asiatic for this family as the only one found both in Africa and Asia. In this way, Hamitic could be entirely eliminated from use, even as a linguistic term. Almost done. So all pervading has been the loose application of the term Hamite in African racial classification that if the present linguistic analysis is accepted, the whole problem of physical variation in Africa should be approached once again independent of preconceptions based on language. He said it would be rather remarkable accident if a racial classification based on incorrect linguistics turned out to be valid. And then he talks about in regard to the correlation between pastoral life and the speaking Hamitic languages, the present results show that the stereotype of the pastoral conquering Hamite must be abandoned. In West Africa, we have 100% negative correlation. The only predominantly pastoral people, the Fulani, have been shown to be non-Hamitic speaking, while none of the Hamitic speaking peoples of the Chad area are cattle folk. In East Africa, it now appears that those people with the greatest cultural emphasis on cattle are either East Sudanic, Niger Congo in speech. The Kushites, who are Hamido-Semitic speakers, are generally pastoral, but in less intensive fashion than these other people. This is the last part. Previous writers have either considered all these languages Hamitic, Meinhof, or none, Hamburger. I have simply tried to classify languages on the basis of the evidence as it has appeared to me. However, any theory which at once harmonizes with the flattering view of the general predominance of the Caucasoid over the Negroid types under all cultural circumstances in Africa, and which involves a fairly consonant correlation of linguistic, cultural, and physical traits over a long period of time, must almost inevitably turn out to be false. So here Greenberg is telling you why he's using Afro-Asiatic, because Hamito-Semitic is racially based. And it is racially based on no grounds of justification regarding linguistics. That is his point. That is why he has established Afro-Asiatic. I'm done.
It's fucking interesting. Interesting. So Brendan, that was the last question, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, y'all can ponder that last thing. Make sure y'all download, rewind the show. The show will be on the Real Black Atheist podcast. That was interesting. Very, very interesting, man. So yeah, we'll be at, man, maybe we're gonna have an after party where we really get to talk some shit here on another show. Maybe we might want to do that. Maybe the brothers up to that, man. But we did have that one question in the goddamn chat room. Remember I said I'm a pin it? Yeah. Yeah, I pinned it. At least in my dang on brain. This was the question, and we're gonna end with this, right? It was 42 tribes, okay? He says that the comparative method was used on Afro-Asiatic. Nobody disagrees with that. The argument is it wasn't created with it. What do y'all say about that? Can we read it one more time? Yeah, let me read it.
Read it one more time.
Yeah.
42 tribes says the comparative method was used on Afro-Asiatic. Yeah, we clearly proved that today. So anybody to say the work wasn't done on it, you're just being funny in your bananas. Says nobody disagrees with that. Yeah, everybody disagrees with that. You always hear him say they ain't did the work on it. They ain't did the work on it. They ain't did the work on it, me to death. I heard it over and over and over again. Tequila Mockingbirds, I heard it. The argument is it wasn't created with it. Fucking interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we answered that. It was postulated before the comparative method in the 1800s.
That didn't even make sense to me.
It don't make sense.
Read that again, Unc.
Read it again.
Well, hold on. Before you read it, like the Indo-European languages were created before the comparative method. The comparative method just expounded more on previous linguistic postulations. So I don't get why that question is important. but I know 42 tribes, and I know where he stand. You know what I'm saying in this whole shit. But go ahead, read it again.
Said the comparative method was used on Afro-Asiatic. Nobody disagrees with that. The argument is it wasn't created with it. Yeah, but so what? Like you just said it. You just said it. Don't matter. The hell, genetics and evolution, genetics wasn't used to figure out evolution early on at all. What does that mean? Not a damn thing.
Right.
Because when you do put genetics on it, you see what parts he got right, what parts he didn't. Go ahead, Brendan. What were you saying?
Yeah, and the phylum existed. I think you guys gave a timeline, right, in terms of the history of the Afro-Asiatic language phylum, right? The phylum existed even prior to Greenberg's mass comparison theory, right? So this is something that's been around since you guys mentioned since around the 1800s.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Like it, I don't get what's the point of bringing that up. Like, matter of fact, the only difference that Greenberg had with prior linguists was he added Chadic, and the reason why he was able to add Chadic, firstly, was due to him ignoring racial constructs. He was like, that racist shit don't have anything to do with language, and he threw that shit out. So
exactly.
Once he started studying the morphology, the syntax, the noun classes of Chadic, he saw similarities with Semitic and Egyptian, and he said this should be classified in Afro-Asiatic,
and Hebrew.
And let's not forget he actually went there.
Yeah,
that's the thing about a lot of people that want to make disagreements about the language. Go there and speak with the people, learn their language, study their language.
Greenberg spoke fluent Hausa. Like, come on now.
Yeah, and people have postulated Hausa belonged to Hamito-Semitic, but they excluded it based on racial category or categorical differences. So they basically said these Hausa people, they have kinky hair and dark skin, they don't belong with it, the Hamites. You know what I'm saying? So exactly, like you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't based on the language. It was based on what the fuck they look like.
And
I don't know why the hell he breaking that shit up.
And that's why I read that quote, because people need to understand that this is not based on race. This is why for people who say, "Oh, Greenberg was racist," which is why he used a mass comparative method. No, clearly he wasn't. If he's saying race holds no grounds to be justified within linguistics, even for Caucasian people, he's saying it holds no grounds. So he's clearly not being racist. He's saying that it's just academically incorrect to use race when it comes to linguistics.
See, the one thing is, this is why you don't have a bevy of linguists arguing with an Mboli or anybody like that. It's a waste of energy. If you can't get past phonology, morphology, or syntax, what method are we going to be talking about? You can't comprehend what a method would be in the linguistical field. So I can't talk to you. Science don't speak to ignorance, man. If I speak to ignorance in science, I give validity to it. I can't speak to it. And that's why it's very difficult for a linguist to propose a new phylum. I ain't talking about a new family. The family sets the classification, it sets the order and structure through branches that come from a phylum. That means that you have to have a vast study of the culture of the people that propagated the family. And so that is just asinine to even ask a question like that, man.
Since he got so much to say, ask him what linguists take Mboli serious. I don't know, 42 tribes, right? No, I'm just saying, like, he got so much to say. Ask him what linguists take Mboli serious.
Oh, no, we found one, remember?
Yeah, he's a crackpot.
Takes one to know one. Yeah. It's funny as hell. Bananas. Yeah, so maybe we should drop the link in there, man, real quick, and see if anybody got any questions, man. Give them 10 minutes to ask some questions, man.
Peace, family. I ain't got no questions. I just need to make a quick observation, and then I'm gonna shut the hell up because I'm in school and I'm loving it. First of all, science and scientific literacy. Once you adhere to that principle, any argument you had before, you concede based on being scientifically correct. So the fact that we are sitting here, regardless of whatever happened, science again proves that once you are genuinely adhering to the principle, you can make a full 180. Number two, we glossed over certain points that were made.
No.
First of all, when we talk about Mboli and the way he was described as a creationist by Ngozi, says enough. He probably went through the rigor, but sticking God in the gaps. Secondly, we established that there's only one crackpot that is listening to Mboli. That ends the debate on that end. So from now on, we can continue the endeavor in breaking down how the linguistics has been established. I thank you, Team Osiris. The debate is over. Pseudo Killas has struck again.
Appreciate it. Anybody else on the panel? Brendan, Corey, Chef, you guys have any questions? Kufu?
I gotta put this link in there real quick.
We doing the after circle.
Yeah, I want to say this before. I don't know if my brother Kufu's still on here, but Kufu, I don't know if I'm get a chance to bring him in the introduction, but he's the co-founder of Team Osiris when it was created. He just be in the background doing his thing. So Kufu is another, you know what I'm saying, the power base. You know, so I want to shout out my brother Kufu if he's still in here.
Yeah, he was late. Of course, I brought him in there.
Yeah, he in here. What's up, Kufu?
Yeah, I brought him in there for certain.
Yep. So, Ike, you got any questions?
No, hold on. I gotta find a link. I want to put in there and see. I don't got no questions. I think we answered all the questions. Like we really did. I think we also talked about the weak spots in the Afro-Asiatic. Did we not?
Yeah.
Because I don't think people really realize that. Yeah, you know that we got people amongst us that play with the God of the gaps. They do it with evolution. They do it with everything. Well, there's question marks with the Big Bang. So, you know, how do you like all that? Like, that's not the point. Right. I mean, like scientists would clearly understand the weak spots in an argument. Nothing is absolutely perfect. And if new information is filtered in based off the scientific process, that information will be filtered in. Simple as that. So no one's stuck nowhere. But what I'll tell you is people play with the gaps on every damn thing. Specifically, the novice will play that. And I want to make this point super clear here. I think this is an important point. You should not be running around telling anybody to demonstrate any fucking thing. It's stupid. It's like you ask me to demonstrate that I can score 30 in the fucking NBA game. Like, why would I be able to do that? I don't play NBA basketball. I'm on the sidelines. I like what Sean said. He said, be a civilian. Damn, I am a civilian. Right? Mm-hmm. So like in the Marine Corps, right? Civilians are those who aren't in the fucking Marine Corps. So you're not asking a civilian to pick up a gun and shoot expert civilian. Right? We understand clearly what it is. I don't have a problem with that. When I was in the game, right, there were civilians, people who wasn't in the game, wasn't trying to get no money out of it and going to work every day, right? Non-combatants is what we call it, civilians, right? So you wouldn't ask a civilian, yo, take the pack over there because you put them at risk, right? They don't understand the undercover agents. They don't understand the lingo. They'll fuck it up. Right, so you're absolutely ridiculous when you ask a civilian to demonstrate fucking linguistics. It's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. I've seen people play that card to death. I liken it to the Hebrew Israelites when they say, Unc, demonstrate evolution is real. You're not in the lab. Then the anti-vaxxers, demonstrate how do you know that the vaccines work and are safe and effective? Nigga, I don't know. That's why I rely on the experts. At a certain point, you gotta rely on the fucking experts. You're not gonna be able to make up the educational gap. You're gonna make too many fucking mistakes in trying to overthrow modern virology. Not being an expert, bad enough, one expert can't overthrow the field anyway. But it's nonsense, the game this community plays. Demonstrated beats demonstration. Nigga, shit, how the fuck I supposed to demonstrate shit? Yeah. It's tomfoolery at an all-time high, and people actually went for that. You can't demonstrate it. The Hebrews killed us that you can't demonstrate. So what? What does that have to do with it being right or wrong? Yeah, that's the game they playing with y'all. If you can't sit down and write 700-page book on linguistics, then the shit you saying based off the expert has to be wrong. Yeah, foolery, dog. Yep, I'm gonna put this link in here. I'm gonna tell y'all now, don't come in here with the stupid shit.
I already posted it into the chat. If you guys have any questions for Team Osiris, jump on. You know, we got a few of the regulars in here that like to join the panel. I'm quite sure they have a lot of interesting sort of questions or insights that they would like to add. So certainly if you guys, Kansu, Melvin, all you, Gullah, if you guys have a moment to stay on, you're certainly welcome to stay and.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Chef Corey, y'all have any questions?
No doubt.
I have a question.
Hold on, we got Chatty Patty. Where you at, Vince? 902 times 91. Been doing a lot of talking in there, bro.
Yeah, jump on, Blue Devil.
Yeah, you done talked a little bit too much. You're Chatty Patty. You're official Chatty Patty for the day. You talked us to death in the chat. Hit the goddamn link. Hit the button. Jump in. Get it cracking.
Yo, can I ask you a question?
You absolutely can.
All right. This to the whole panel. Actually, just not the aunt, but I'm gonna share my screen real quick. This is from a page out of Ebola's book. It reads, "It is hardly necessary to mention that the results thus obtained," and what he's talking about is his comparative method, "are in perfect agreement with the archaeological and cultural facts currently available." So I wonder, like anybody that supports this shit, can anybody explain the migratory patterns? I'll go back to it. The archaeological evidence that supports Zande, Sango, Somali, Middle Egyptian, Coptic, and Hausa all coming from the same origin at the same time. Because this is his Negro Egyptian group right here, the 6 languages. You know what I'm saying? So he says archaeological evidence supports what he's saying. It perfectly agrees with it. So I'm saying, is anybody on the panel, anybody in the comment section would like to corroborate that shit? Because he didn't do it in his book.
That's a claim. And if it's not substantiated by the one who's proposing it, there is no way that I can do it.
Okay. Well, he even has the second wave, what Mel was touched on, where he has Nuer and Luau from this point right here. Hold on. Right here. And he has Wolof making a jet line from South Sudan all the way to Senegambia. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, he said he has archaeological evidence to back this up. I was wondering if anybody on that side or anybody that's proponents of this shit, like, have any type of archaeological evidence to back this shit up.
And then he got Sango. Like Sango is like a ancestral language. And Sango was a Creole language.
In the 1800s, bro. Like with the French, when they colonized, I think it was the French, when they colonized the German or the French.
Yeah,
But
it's the French. They colonized the
Central African.
Yeah, but their language group is really northern in Ngande. You know what I'm saying? But it was creolized with different Ngande languages. You know what I'm saying? Influenced by French too. You know what I'm saying? A little bit. You know what I'm saying? The Creole language it's an African Creole that was around before the French, but it's still like it ain't. You know what I'm saying? It's not that ancient. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's along that
When the
Obangian River. You feel me?
when the
Like,
French, when the French got there, they added on. Added on to it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Right. And then I also hear that, if you're looking at on the left hand side, who for the top map, it's the white arrows. And then for the bottom map, it's Parabantu and Bantu, just showing the origin places where he's saying Negro Egyptian was birthed. And I also hear that he has another text coming out where he's going to show how Negro Egyptian is also
Man, we ain't reading that
the
shit.
mother to Indo-European.
We ain't reading that shit. Let me tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send that book to Indo-European linguists and just let them analyze that shit. Because I'm not reading
we got a couple we can send that to.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah, let them respond to it.
Right. Like I'm just saying, like you got Hausa, according to this map right here on the bottom left hand corner, Hausa came from Parabantu in East Africa. You know what I'm saying? You got Zade came from Parabantu. You got Bantu starting in Ethiopia and went south and went east. Went west or whatever. Like, so going back to it again one more time.
I thought it went to Mesopotamia. I thought it went to Sumer.
Yeah, it went. Matter of fact, it came from Sumer. Like, according to these experts over here, that's in their living room and shit, doing this stuff. The Sumerians, which is a language isolate, share common ancestry with Bantu people, and somehow, oh yeah, that is
So here's my question. That let's not even go into linguistics. Let's just speak with archaeology and what we have regarding the culture. We all know that the Bantu expansion is about 1,000 BC is argued upon about 1,000 BC. Okay, so when we talk
about 1,000, a little bit, probably a small migration, start around 3,500. You know what I'm saying?
So if we know that the Bantu expansion started then, and we're talking about comparing languages that came and exited before then. So for example, let's say I want to compare Bantu to Egyptian. I wouldn't be able to compare Bantu to ancient Egyptian because, well, ancient Egyptian has gone and passed at that time. I wouldn't be able to compare it to Middle Egyptian, which Mboli does do, but because Middle Egyptian has gone and passed at that time. Actually, around this time period of about 1,000 BC, late Egyptian, as well as these other forms of Egyptian with Greek influences are being present. So this is at a time where this again Middle Egyptian and hieroglyphics have already been passed. So there's no way you can make a comparison with Bantu at this time. What you're going to make a comparison with is a form of Egyptian that has Greek influence. And we know who was ruling Egypt at the time around when the Bantu expansion occurred. And I say the same for Sumerian. Sumerian had gone and left by the time the Bantu expansion happened. So how can you make a connection? You understand what I'm saying? Without even going into the linguistic comparisons, ignore that. How can you make a connection with the people who had already died and gone before the Bantus came? You can't.
I understood that point. You can't.
Hey man, before you try to hit the damn link, man.
So I got a good question for you guys. Right, this is.
They'll say Wikipedia be lying. Right. Man, listen, man, we ain't never got to use Wikipedia, man. You can strictly go to the Britannica. Man, everybody on here got
Wikipedia be lying, but shit, the people he follow be trying to edit and put their own articles on Wikipedia. That don't make no damn sense to me. The hell is you talking about?
Yeah, they just talking, man. We gonna
Just
get up
talking.
out of this framework now, yo, before it get too damn ugly. I don't want to get ugly. So yeah, y'all gotta what I would say a refresher course into Afro-Asiatic, and just be mindful to understand, start to understand terminology, understand how certain things work, just generally speaking, and that would give you a good read. Know how to look stuff up. If you're looking up things that just have one person involved in it, that's a big ass, that's not only a red flag, that's a big ass siren, right? That's actually an alert, and we call it pseudo alert around here, around these parts, right? So it should never be that, right? We should never fall on that side. We should relax, sit back and chill and get the proper information. If when your kids go to school and they may end up in college, right? You should be able to read certain texts in college. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like textbooks. I like the information in textbooks. And when the information in textbooks get outdated, the books are good. Universities update their libraries all the time and information all the time. So we stick to the experts so we don't get tricked by the novice. So we don't get tricked by those who claim to have overturned evolution. Don't get tricked by those who have claimed to overthrow linguistics. Don't get tricked by those who have claimed to overthrow biology, or overthrow space science, overthrow astronomy. We hear it all the time, right? So we're not doing that. Don't get too hyped up to think that your daily YouTube guy, right, who's not an expert, could ever fuck with the experts. Don't get tricked. It'll end up putting you in a goddamn cult. With that, everybody, man, I appreciate everybody coming through, man. I don't know if we're going to do it after show and start talking that talk. I don't know. According to what the bros want to do, man. But for this show, man, I ain't want to make it too long, man. Hit the button, man. We out. I see the chatty patch didn't hit that damn link, though. They talked us to death in the chat, but they didn't hit that damn link. Man. Hey, man, make sure you go. I got this shirt right here from Asahotep's store, right? Go to his channel, Asahotep, man, and get this. It says life. It says life since religion. And you got man going back into a damn.
Oh, man.
It's funny. Yo, here you go. Yeah, I like that, though. That's like one of them atheist t-shirts. Like, so funny. I like that, though. Yeah. Hey, Chef, where you at? Chef disappeared. Damn, Chef.
Hey man, just a little I guess you could say a little plug here. I just turned, at 12 o'clock here on the East Coast. I just turned 36 today, man.
Happy birthday, man. This little damn party, man.
Bringing it in with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Right,
appreciate it. Appreciate it.
You getting up there, bro? You getting
I know, man. I know, man. I'm knocking on that door, bro.
Yeah, 40, no damn door, nigga. I'm knocking on the door, nigga.
Right.
Knocking that door, the Grim Reaper come out that motherfucker.
Nah. I still got shit. I still got shit to do, man.
It's the only door.
I still got stuff to do, bro.
When you knocking on the motherfucking door, nigga, I ain't trying to knock on no motherfucking door.
Not that door, bro. Not that door.
Shit. Yeah, but thanks for everybody supporting the channels, man. I appreciate that, man. Support the families, man. Y'all can't forget this, man. This is important, man. We only as strong as our weakest link, man. All right. And united we stand and divided we fucking fall, man. The world is full of dedicated pseudos, man. We need as many people dedicated to scientific literacy as possible to fight the dedicated pseudos. We've seen it. Through this pandemic, we've seen it run rampant. We was overthrown or overthrew, what's the word I want to use? By pseudo. Overran the goddamn position. They had to call an artillery on ourselves.
We was absurd.
Bananas, right? So we need as many people that's interested in science. We need as many people that can make science fun and interesting to talk about. We do that over here. Damn everybody that's talking that bullshit. The hell with that. That's how we doing it, man. I appreciate Team Osiris coming through the building, man. Hopefully we can do many more shows dedicated to science that everybody come through, man. We're gonna bring some experts through on a panel, man. Talking that talk. Yo, we got a lot in store for y'all this year, man. Yo, we deal with scientific language around here. I can't speak for Team Osiris on the atheist part, but the Pseudo Killas is goddamn atheists all day. Real black atheists.